Rafa's paper is basically about the idea of equal and fair access to human spaceflight. It's not about access to space as such. However, we can extend these ideas to full activity in space. This is about access to spaceflight, and it matters especially today because we are entering, or we already entered, in mixed public and private era of human space exploration, where what we will do regarding selection process to this human space missions will to some extent lay some grounds and foundations for future possibly permanent or semi-permanent human presence in space. So it matters a lot today. And this access to space is more and more shaped by different data-driven systems, also AI-supported systems, different algorithms, medical screening, psychological providing. The last one are already typical and well rooted in this selection systems. Why some of them are relatively new regarding this algorithm-based selection system. And what is important here that selection as such is not only technical process, and definitely it's not neutral. Of course, we may wonder if selection to space is less neutral than selection to other fields. So, but this is out of this paper. Here it's not meant that selection to space is less neutral than other types of selection. But what is important to note that it's not only technical selection. It's first of all moral or ethical and political issue, and can be understood as a part of spaceflight infrastructure. And here, the main question, or the only question, is not only about survival in space, how to make spaceflight survivable, who can survive, but the question is first of all, who is allowed to become a spacefarer. And of course, access to space is always guarded, and it was never open to everyone. In 20th century, access to space was guarded usually by states, by national agency. So always we had some, and we have until today some sort of door, which are, and this access is not only limited. It's not only about selection. It's also about the fact that we shape some I would say profile of candidate or profile of this ideal spacefarer. And this door to space, this metaphorical door to space, today maybe they became wider because now we see included more types of people than in the past. However, this wider door does not mean that we got a fair door, because still this selection process and this access policy they include a lot of barriers and thresholds, including psychological, financial, and others. And here I would like to introduce such term like the concept of algorithmic hospitality. About hospitality in general, in a more traditional philosophy, in writings of philosophers such as Kant, Aquinas, Derrida, and others, this hospitality was first of all about such concepts like power, order, condition, responsibility. But today, regarding algorithm-based system, we see that the host cannot be limited or reduced to one person or group of people or to institutions, but the host is distributed through systems of data sets, models, medical boards, also insurance operators and others. And here, what is especially important is this last question, which is the crucial one from the perspective of this idea of algorithmic hospitality. This is the question about exclusions, because exclusions happen, and some of them in some places can be justified. But the question is if we are able to trace them, if these exclusions are justified, if they are proportionate, if they can be explained and understood, and something like that. And what is worth to mention is obvious fact that because of many risks and threats and dangers which are waiting for humans in space, some sort of selection seems to be mandatory. But because of risks such as caused by microgravity and reduced gravity, radiation, living in isolated, confined environment, because of limited or no medical support, because of emergency constraints, because of many other issues which we know very well, because space is dangerous. Some selection is, of course, required. But what is important here, when we are talking about risk and dangers, it is good to know that risk, dangers, threats, they don't explain themselves and they don't interpret themselves. For instance, risk should be defined by someone. Someone should decide what will be interpreted, what will be treated as a risk, what level of uncertainty will be accepted or not, what kind of mitigations or adaptations will be introduced or not, etc., etc. So we can see that we are defining some risk factors, we are defining some parameters, and for some things we agree, for some things we don't agree. And what is important here that safety is obviously important. And yesterday, when I had small delay with my Delta flight because of some technical issue, I have been told by crew safety first. So I can repeat safety first. but we should be careful here that in the context of access to space, this language of safety can be used, maybe unintentionally, as the tool of exclusion of some people. I don't mean that someone will intentionally exclude some people and use the language of safety, but in practice we can get such results that because of putting a lot of value on safety parameters and safety issues, in fact we will exclude a lot of types and groups of people and possible candidates because they will not meet these high standards of safety. And here, another important point is that the idea of fair and open access to space does not mean that safety will be diminished. So we shouldn't frame this opposition as the opposition between safety on one side and fairness and equal access on the other side. This is not correct framing. The better framing seems to be real safety, and on the other side, safety rhetoric. And what does real safety mean? Real safety means that we will take a look at particular issues here and now. We will identify issues related with particular missions, people, spaceflight participants, and others. And we will not treat all types of people flying to space. We will not treat all types of missions in the same way. We will make distinctions between them. And this is about fair access, which should be which states that this selection standards should be adaptive, mission-specific, and proportionate. And here I would like to mention the case of persons with disability. The traditional image of spaceflight participant is a superfit person who is not disabled in our common understanding of the term disability. But I would like to point that disability is not only about properties of the bodies. More often, disability is about environment, about architecture, about design, about technologies, also about our own culture, philosophy, ethics. And because of that, I would like to point out that coming from this perspective of this concept of algorithmic hospitality and caring for this equal access, the main question here is not the question about being fit or being unfit for the mission regarding this or that candidate, but we should ask another question about design. If design is not too narrow. And here we move to the risk of algorithmic exclusion, which means that algorithm-based selection systems and big data-driven systems, they have obvious benefits, but they also bring risk of resembling past exclusions. For instance, if some groups of candidates are absent in past astronaut data, this is probably because of their past exclusion, which can affect the way how this algorithm-based system will work in the future. And coming slowly to conclusions, from this perspective of algorithmic hospitality, if we are confronted with this requirement of being fit or having appropriate fit score for human space missions, we should ask such questions like, what does mean being fit for space mission? Fit for what task, for what mission, fit with what crew, fit according to which evidence. And another important issue is that these considerations related to selection process, they don't end with selection only, and they don't end with this or that particular space missions. And this idea of equal access to space is not only about sorting people to particular space missions, but it's about something bigger. It's about the way how we think about our future presence in space, and how we look at human diversity. And this is important because these early selection systems already decide whose bodies, languages, skills, risk, needs, and other features will be treated as default, as normal in space. And if we decide that this early access is shaped by such parameters or categories like wealth, like elite education, like some specific narrowed medical norms, or other parameters which are usually associated with privileged group, we risk that inclusion applied afterthought will be very difficult or maybe impossible. And to conclude, the central thought and the central idea of this concept of algorithmic hospitality and this idea of equal and open access to space is not about allowing everyone to go to space. So this idea in this approach, we understand that some exclusions will happen and probably must happen, that some selection still should be at work. But what is required here is to be able to trace cases of exclusion and to be able to explain them, understand, and also this is the point to make exclusion proportionate, to not demand too much, to not exclude too much.